So what is a large language model? Large language model is sort of first one to see in the last year with the likes of Chat GPT, where people can put an input, ask some sort of question or query, and with context, you can put out an output. We'll go through what it is, how does it work, what's an emergent property, what's a hallucination, and why we sort of think this is a new operating system. So a large language model is a relationship between language and mathematics. And back in 2017, a paper from Google worked out the most compute efficient way to take a large amount of text and train a model. The way that the transformer works is it essentially assigns a numerical value to a word within a dictionary. The Oxford Dictionary, aardvark is the very first word in the Oxford Dictionary, and it's assigned a value of 0. And then all the way down the line, each word's given a number, and then that number represents a word, and the computer can go and train that model using a lot of compute power. So we've got an encoder and a decoder. So when we put in our little bubble window or a context window, when we put in what we want, it encodes, and it sort of takes the words that we have and puts them into numbers, sends it back to the model. The model does its thing, where it starts to predict the next word in a sentence, but those words come out as numbers on the sort of the model. And then to decode, it then assigns back the words back to those numbers. So it's sort of like it's a translation between language and mathematics. So language goes in, it's converted into numbers or mathematics. The output is in mathematics, but for us to understand it, they need to decode and to make words back for their numbers. So it's trained on a significant amount of data. So the more data, the better the model, or the more specific you want to model. For example, with your business, you've got a whole lot of standard operating procedures with text. You can get that text together and you can use it to fine tune a model. There's a context window where you can have a request or ask a question, and then the model, based on how strong that model is or the large the data set and the compute power, will infer what the request is. So it goes through and looks at what you're asking, tries to have the right attention to the right words so that it can sort of design a response that meets your requirements. And what these models do is they attempt to sort of predict the next word in a sentence regardless of. So if you ask a question where there is no answer, it will try and put out an answer because its main function is to predict the next word in the sentence, not necessarily accuracy. But if you remember our common definition of compression being a function of AI, these LLM things compress a significant amount of text and data to be workable, usable for a business. It's the same as if you had an analyst read every single paper on the retirement village industry. That analyst would be a lot more informed about the industry. Same with a large language model. So we've taken all the reports that the listed companies have put out there with regards to their end of year reports or their 6 monthly reports. And we've just fine tuned the model so we know what's sort of going on in the industry, what's going on. So this is a good example of Chat GPT. So you can put in a request down the bottom to the context window, and then it will give out a response of what you need. So yes, I definitely use Chat GPT to help write all my scripts for my videos. It's a very, very quick way to save my cognitive function. So what are emergent properties? So these are capabilities that word the specific output of the training. So usually when you train a large language model, you've got some similar text, and you can start to predict based on compute power and based on the model of what the output is. An example of emergent property is translation. So what they start to do, and also quite complex mathematics, is how much data you can feed in a new model, the same model will output a different function that you didn't know was possible. It's a sort of a merging of two different properties. It's a completely different output, not really predictable. So if you think about nature, a flock of birds moving together go a lot further. But if you study a bird individually, you wouldn't be able to conclude just by looking at them that they could fly as a flock. And the biggest thing about emergent properties is they're a desirable output, whereas hallucinations is a non-desirable output. They generate incorrect or fictitious information Usually the more specific you want, the less, the more prone they are to hallucinations. So when it comes down to accounting or mathematics, they are a bit more prone to hallucinations. And the big part of that is it's usually, one model is usually trained within a certain time period. So with ChatGPT, they've said that the model's trained up to, I think, April 2023. And that's because they go through, they hear a text which is relevant, and then they train that model. And once they finish that model, they release it to the wild. So that model's not constantly being trained. It does have a single epoch of time of when that model is being trained. So those are some of the limitations. And that's why sometimes you do get hallucinations. The real advantages of large language models is to start with the things that are less black and white, a little bit more grey. So looking at sales and marketing, or if you think about people's development or ideas of brainstorming, where you can go through and throw around ideas where humans still in the loop, so that and it can augment their ability or their cognition as opposed to trying to replace it. And that's why we really think that humans and AI are the way forward, that AI is less likely to replace people. So why do we think large language models are the new operating systems? So the previous operating systems we had is the personal computer, the internet, when everyone was onto mobile phones, we had the App Store. Then we had all the processing power in the cloud. Some of you might remember big server rooms at work. And now you've got large language models. So if I think about a large language model, in my head, I conceptualize it like a stream or like a river. And each river has little forks out or into small streams. And those small streams can be workflows. So with a large language model, we can talk to it, or we can, with our fingers, write prompts and requests. And that large language model can then connect us to different outputs. And if you look at Microsoft's new Copilot announcement that came out earlier last week, they are going all in as Copilots because they see that's going to be the future of the workforce, where people come in with a headset, some headphones on their phone, can go around and work out what is going to help them do their job for the day to day. Augmented reality, or whether that's being told with an earpiece of what you need to do each day. They're actually outsourcing experience and knowledge to the Copilot to allow people on the ground to do a better job, to save their cognitive load, but also make them a lot safer in the world. So we agree. We think Copilots will be the future. We've developed a number of Copilots in-house at the moment, just to help our teams across the board do their job more efficiently, safer, in a more reproducible way. So when people come on board, sort of at day one, they have got a cell phone. Here's a camera of that cell phone with a little bit of computer vision, and can show them what to do when and how to do it. Or if they're a knowledge worker, they can use it as a way to bounce ideas off or help mentor and manage their standard operating procedures. So businesses will need to adjust. It is sort of a paradigm shift for work, where as soon as you can implement a Copilot, you'll see a drastic increase in productivity. So for us, our knowledge workers, we think you're about 6% more efficient because of our Copilots. That's quite consistent with Microsoft stats work. There will be a significant increase in productivity, but we also think a significant increase in competition, because if knowledge and intelligence is no longer the rate limiting factor for a business, it's never been any easier to sort of start a business. And we think it's a winner take most technology. So if you're first in the market to deploy Copilots, you have a level of efficiency where you can drive down costs and increase your market share considerably. And it just comes down to where's the most value gained for the first Copilot within your business, and then just rolling it out step by step to different verticals within. So for us, we started with sales, we started with marketing, and now we're in operations, and now we're going through with finance and sort of our last big vertical tech with our Copilots. But we think the large language models will be the new operating system. You'll have your cell phone, you'll wake up, you'll talk to it just like anthropomorphize a sort of a technology be a human. You'll have your personal assistant, your Copilot daily to help you essentially do everything. So these Copilots have already started. So OpenAI has also released what's called GPTs. And if you have the paid version, you go through, you can start to create your own. So you can add in different data sets to a large language model, and those data sets can interact however you see fit to produce a desired output. So largely it's more sort of tool to allow people to interact with different people or different information streams or data streams in your business to become significantly more efficient. They're good at complex tasks, especially when there's multiple outcomes, and people can use their judgment to work out what the best way forward is. They can hallucinate on specific information, especially if their training series or the data series is limited in regards to when it was finished training, so they have no new information. But you can also fine tune a large language model to get better results for your business. So if you've got standard operating procedures or ways to do things to the business, you can use that text to provide better context for your large language models to perform. So in summary, large language models we think are going to be the future. You'll have a co-pilot within your personal life. You'll have a co-pilot at work to make you significantly more efficient, but also decrease the amount of cognitive load you have. And this will lead to a lot better outcomes for your staff. A lot less stress, a lot less sort of burnt out because these large language models can take the majority of the load. We've been talking to a number of different groups around how we can assist them. And they see co-pilots being the main way that they can drive a lot of efficiency for their people, and especially onboarding of new people to make them assimilate a lot quicker than in previous pops.